You didn't need that second slice of cake. You knew it before you took the first bite. And yet some part of you reached for it anyway, almost automatically, like the decision had already been made somewhere you don't have access to. You call this a lack of willpower, a modern flaw, something to feel guilty about at the gym on Monday. But the truth is far stranger than weak willpower. That pull towards something sweet is a message from deep inside your biology, and it's tens of thousands of years old. Your brain isn't broken. It's still living in a world that stopped existing a long time ago. Think about what sugar actually meant for most of human history. Not a bag on a supermarket shelf, not a substance engineered into 1,000 different products. Sugar meant ripe fruit. It meant honey, guarded fiercely by bees, found rarely and worth real risk to steal. It meant safety in the most literal sense because a sweet taste told your ancestors something crucial in half a second without any thinking required. This is not poisonous, and this has calories you badly need. Bitterness, by contrast, often signaled danger. Many toxic plants taste bitter, so a brain that reacted instantly and intensely to sweetness, chasing it, craving it, remembering exactly where to find it again, had a serious survival advantage over a brain that felt lukewarm about sugar. This is where a researcher named James Neel becomes relevant. In the 1960s, Neel proposed what's now known as the Thrifty gene hypothesis. His idea was that human metabolism evolved under conditions of unpredictable food supply, feast one week, famine the next. Bodies that could rapidly store extra energy as fat during a rare abundance of calories, especially sugar-rich calories, were more likely to survive the lean stretches that inevitably followed. In other words, your ancestors weren't just designed to enjoy sugar. They were designed to binge on it whenever it appeared, because appearances were rare, and the body had no way of knowing when the next opportunity would come. Does that sound familiar? Because that exact biological programming is still running inside you, except now sugar doesn't appear rarely. It appears constantly in nearly everything you eat. Here's where the story moves from evolutionary theory into a modern laboratory. Neuroscientist Dana Small has spent years studying how sugar interacts with the brain's reward system, and her research reveals something people rarely expect. Sugar doesn't just taste good. It actively hijacks the same dopamine pathways involved in anticipation and craving, the exact circuitry your brain uses to flag something as urgently worth pursuing. Small's work showed that this response isn't purely about pleasure in the moment. It's about motivation, about the brain generating a powerful pull toward seeking out more, even when you're not particularly hungry. That's not a coincidence. That's the whole point. A brain that only enjoyed sugar passively wouldn't go out of its way to find more of it. A brain that felt genuinely driven to seek it out would. Your ancestors needed that drive. A ripe fruit tree wasn't going to announce itself. Someone had to feel compelled to go looking. There's a third piece of this puzzle worth adding, and it comes from researcher Nicole Avena, who studies how sugar affects behavior in ways that echo patterns seen in substance use. In her research with animal models, intermittent access to sugar produced behavioral patterns strikingly similar to what's seen with substances that are more traditionally considered addictive. Binging when sugar became available, signs of withdrawal-like behavior when it was removed, and an escalating desire over repeated exposure. Avena's research doesn't claim sugar is identical to those substances, but it does show that your brain's reward circuitry treats a reliably sweet, calorie-dense substance with a kind of urgency that goes well beyond simple enjoyment. The body doesn't file sugar under nice to have. It files it under essential to actively pursue. Now put all three pieces together. Neel's Thrifty genes explain why your body wants to store the energy from sugar as efficiently as possible. Small's research on dopamine explains why your brain doesn't just enjoy sugar, but actively drives you to seek it out, even without hunger. Avena's work explains why that seeking behavior can feel less like a preference and more like a pull you didn't fully choose. None of that machinery knows it's the 21st century. Your ancestors' biology evolved in a world where sugar was seasonal, scarce, and often required real effort, climbing a tree, evading bees, walking miles to find the one bush that still had fruit on it. In that world, a brain wired to crave sugar intensely and a body wired to store it efficiently wasn't a flaw. It was one of the smartest survival strategies available. Now sugar is in your kitchen, in your car's cup holder, in your office desk drawer, available in unlimited quantities at almost any hour. The ancient system built for scarcity is now operating inside a world of permanent abundance, and it has no built-in mechanism for recognizing that the emergency it evolved to handle no longer exists. This is why just use more willpower so often fails as advice. You're not fighting a personal weakness. You're fighting circuitry that was one of the most successful survival adaptations in human history, now firing constantly in an environment it was never designed to operate in. Understanding this doesn't mean sugar cravings become effortless to manage, but it does change what the craving means about you. When you reach for something sweet without even being hungry, that's not evidence you lack discipline. That's a body running code written by ancestors who needed to binge on rare, calorie-dense food whenever it appeared, because their next meal was never guaranteed. Consider what that reframe actually does. Guilt tends to make cravings worse, triggering stress responses that, ironically, increase the pull toward high-calorie comfort foods even further. But recognizing the craving as an ancient, once adaptive signal, rather than a personal failure, takes some of that shame out of the equation. You can acknowledge the pull without needing to treat it as proof that something is wrong with you. Your ancestors who felt almost nothing when they encountered a ripe fruit tree quietly lost out, generation after generation, to the ones who felt an undeniable urge to eat as much as they could, right then, before the opportunity vanished. That urge got passed down, intact, refined, and eventually installed in you. So the next time you find yourself reaching for that second slice of cake, some part of your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it was built to do, thousands of generations ago, standing in front of a rare and precious food source, making absolutely sure you didn't walk away from it too soon.